If your toenail fungus keeps coming back no matter what you try, creams, prescriptions, or home remedies, it can feel frustrating and never-ending. The main reason this happens is because most treatments only work on the surface, while the fungus actually lives deep underneath the nail in the nail bed. It hides under a thick layer of keratin, which acts like a shield, making it very difficult for treatments to reach and fully eliminate it. Unless you target that deeper area and change the environment where the fungus survives, it keeps returning again and again. This is why a smarter, more targeted approach is needed. One that focuses not just on killing the fungus, but on reaching it, weakening its environment, and stopping reinfection completely. The process starts with softening the nail. Before going to bed, soak your feet in warm water for a few minutes. This step is important because it makes the nail slightly softer and easier to work with. However, it's important not to overdo it. Too much soaking can actually create the moist conditions that fungus loves. After soaking, drying your feet completely is critical, especially around and under the nails. Fungus thrives in moisture, so keeping the area dry immediately puts you at an advantage. Next comes a step that many people skip but makes a huge difference: thinning the nail. Using a clean nail file, gently reduce the thickness of the affected nail. This is not about damaging the nail, but about removing that hard outer barrier so anything you apply afterward can actually penetrate deeper instead of sitting uselessly on top. Think of it like opening a door that was previously closed to treatment. Now comes the most powerful part of the routine, which combines two simple ingredients in a very strategic way. First, applying diluted apple cider vinegar helps change the pH of the area. Fungus prefers a certain environment to grow, and by altering that pH, you make it less comfortable for it to survive. At the same time, vinegar begins to break down the outer keratin layer, further helping anything applied afterward to go deeper. Immediately after that, applying hydrogen peroxide introduces oxygen directly into the area. This is important because fungal organisms tend to thrive in low oxygen environments. When hydrogen peroxide releases oxygen, it creates conditions that are hostile to the fungus. You may notice bubbling. That's a sign it's actively working. This step is not just about killing fungus on contact, but about disrupting the environment it depends on. What makes this combination effective is that you're not relying on a single method. You are softening the nail, thinning the barrier, changing the pH, and introducing oxygen all at once. This multi-step approach increases your chances of actually reaching the root of the problem instead of just managing symptoms on the surface. Another important part that people often overlook is the surrounding skin. Fungus doesn't stay limited to the nail. It hides around the cuticle and nearby skin, ready to reinfect the nail even after partial improvement. Gently massaging the treatment around the nail area helps ensure that these hidden spots are also addressed. Leaving the nail exposed overnight is equally important. Tight socks, closed shoes, and trapped heat create the perfect environment for fungus to grow. Airflow and dryness, on the other hand, make it harder for fungus to survive. Giving your feet time to breathe allows the treatment to work more effectively and prevents moisture buildup. One of the biggest reasons fungus keeps coming back is not the nail itself, but your shoes. Wearing the same shoes every day without letting them dry creates a warm, damp environment where fungus can live and multiply. Every time you wear them again, you reintroduce the infection. Rotating your shoes and allowing them to fully dry can significantly reduce this risk. Using antifungal powder inside shoes can also help keep them dry and less hospitable to fungal growth. Understanding the science behind this makes it even more powerful. Fungus depends on keratin, warmth, moisture, and low oxygen to survive. This routine directly targets all of those factors. By thinning the nail, you reduce its protective barrier. By drying the area, you remove moisture. By using vinegar, you change the pH. And by applying hydrogen peroxide, you introduce oxygen. Instead of fighting fungus from one angle, you're attacking it from multiple directions at the same time. Consistency is the key that ties everything together. This is not something that works overnight, because nails grow slowly and the damaged portion needs time to grow out. But by following a routine that actually reaches the source of the problem and changes the conditions it depends on, you give your body the opportunity to grow a healthier nail from the base. Over time, as the new nail grows in, you'll begin to notice clearer, stronger, and healthier nail replacing the damaged one. And that's when you know the cycle is finally being broken. Instead of just temporarily controlled, most people treat toenail fungus as a simple surface problem, something that can be fixed by applying a cream or using a quick remedy for a few days. At first, this seems logical because the discoloration and thickening appear on the outside of the nail, so it feels natural to focus treatment there. But this assumption is exactly where the problem begins, because the visible part of the nail is only a small portion of what's actually happening. The real issue exists deeper, underneath the nail, where the fungus lives, grows, and protects itself from most treatments. The nail itself is made of a tough protein called keratin, which forms a dense protective barrier. While this barrier is important for protecting your fingers and toes, it also makes it extremely difficult for topical treatments to pass through. When fungus gets underneath the nail, it settles into the nail bed and begins feeding on keratin. As it grows, it causes the nail to thicken, discolor, and sometimes become brittle or distorted. This thickening is not just a symptom. It becomes part of the problem because it further blocks any treatment from reaching the infection. This is why many people experience temporary improvement but not complete recovery. They apply creams or solutions to the surface, which may reduce the appearance slightly or slow down the spread, but the fungus underneath remains alive. Over time, it simply continues to grow and eventually becomes visible again. This cycle can repeat for months or even years, leading to frustration and the belief that nothing truly works. Another factor that makes toenail fungus persistent is the environment in which it thrives. Fungal organisms prefer warm, dark, and moist conditions. Unfortunately, the inside of a shoe provides exactly that type of environment. When feet sweat and are then enclosed in shoes for long periods, moisture builds up, creating the perfect conditions for fungus to survive and multiply. Even if you treat the nail itself, returning your foot to that same environment each day can lead to reinfection. The structure of the nail also creates hidden spaces where fungus can survive. The edges of the nail, the area under the nail plate, and the surrounding skin near the coo. Tickle all provide places where fungal organisms can hide. These areas are often missed during treatment, allowing the fungus to persist even when the visible part of the nail appears to improve. This is why a surface-level approach often fails. It does not address the full extent of where the fungus exists. In addition to physical barriers, the body's own processes can influence how quickly the infection clears. Toenails grow slowly, much slower than fingernails. This means that even when the fungus is successfully reduced or eliminated, it takes time for a healthy nail to grow out and replace the damaged portion. During this period, any remaining fungus can easily take advantage of the situation and spread again if conditions are favorable. Another important aspect is consistency. Many people start treatment with good intentions but stop too early when they see slight improvement. Because the infection is not fully gone, stopping treatment allows the remaining fungus to grow back. This creates the illusion that the treatment didn't work, when in reality it was not continued long enough to fully resolve the problem. Understanding all of this shifts the approach from simply trying random treatments to using a more strategic method. Instead of focusing only on killing fungus on the surface, the goal becomes reaching the deeper layers, reducing the protective barriers, and changing the protective barriers and changing the environment so that the fungus can no longer survive. This requires a combination of steps that work together rather than relying on a single product or quick fix. The key idea is penetration and environment control. If a treatment cannot reach the nail bed, it cannot fully eliminate the infection. At the same time, if the surrounding conditions remain ideal for fungal growth, reinfection becomes almost inevitable. This is why addressing moisture, airflow, and hygiene is just as important. Net as applying any treatment directly to the nail. By recognizing that toenail fungus is not just a cosmetic issue, but a deeper and more complex condition, it becomes easier to understand why simple solutions often fall short. It also highlights why a more thoughtful and consistent approach can lead to better results over time. Instead of chasing quick fixes, focusing on how and where the fungus lives allows you to take steps that actually target the root of the problem, giving your body a better chance to recover and maintain healthier nails in the long run. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to treat toenail fungus is focusing only on killing the fungus itself without first preparing the nail in a way that actually allows treatment to reach where it needs to go. The reality is that most treatments fail, not because they are completely ineffective, but because they never penetrate deeply enough to make a real impact. The nail acts as a physical barrier, and unless you intentionally work to reduce that barrier, even the best remedies will remain on the surface, offering limited and temporary results. This is why preparation becomes one of the most critical parts of the entire process. Softening the nail is the first step in breaking down its resistance. When you briefly soak your feet in warm water, the nail absorbs some moisture and becomes slightly more flexible. This makes it easier to work with and reduces the rigidity of the keratin structure. However, balance is important here. While a short soak helps soften the nail, prolonged exposure to water creates the exact moist conditions that fungus thrives in. That is why the soaking step should be controlled and followed immediately by thorough drying. Drying the foot properly is not just a routine step, it is a strategic move. Moisture is one of the primary factors that allows fungal organisms to survive and multiply. Even small amounts of trapped moisture, especially around the nail edges and underneath the nail, can create a microenvironment where fungus continues to grow. By completely drying the area, you begin to disrupt that environment and make it less favorable for fungal survival. This alone can slow down the progression of the infection. Once the nail is softened and dry, thinning the nail becomes the next essential step. This is often overlooked or avoided because people are unsure how to do it safely. The goal is not to damage the nail or cause pain, but to gently reduce its thickness using a clean nail file. By doing this, you are physically removing part of the barrier that prevents treatments from reaching the infection underneath. A thinner nail allows better absorption of any solution or remedy applied afterward, making each application significantly more effective. This step can be compared to opening a pathway. Without thinning, treatments are like water poured onto a sealed surface. They simply sit there. With thinning, you create channels that allow those treatments to move closer to the source of the problem. Over time, this increases the likelihood of actually affecting the fungus where it lives, rather than just improving the appearance temporarily. After preparing the nail, the method of application becomes just as important as the ingredients themselves. Using a combination approach, rather than relying on a single substance, increases effectiveness because it targets the fungus from multiple angles. Applying a mildly acidic solution first helps alter the environment of the nail. Fungal organisms prefer a certain pH level to survive, and by shifting that balance, you begin to weaken their ability to thrive. At the same time, this step can help loosen the outer layers of keratin, making the nail even more receptive to what comes next. Following this with an oxygen-releasing solution introduces another layer of attack. Fungal organisms tend to survive best in low oxygen conditions. When oxygen is introduced into the area, it creates stress for the fungus and disrupts its growth cycle. The bubbling effect that occurs is a visible sign that the solution is actively interacting with the area. More importantly, it helps carry the treatment deeper into small spaces and crevices where the fungus may be hiding. The power of this approach lies in its sequence. Each step prepares the nail for the next one, creating a cumulative effect. Softening allows thinning, thinning allows penetration, and penetration allows the treatment to reach and affect the fungus more directly. Skipping any of these steps reduces the overall effectiveness, which is why many people see inconsistent results when they only apply treatments without preparation. Another critical aspect is extending the treatment beyond the visible nail. The surrounding skin, including the cuticle and the sides of the nail, often harbors fungal organisms that are not immediately visible. If these areas are ignored, They can serve as a constant source of reinfection. Gently applying treatment around these regions helps ensure that hidden fungus is also addressed, reducing the chances of the infection returning after partial improvement. Consistency in this process is what ultimately determines success. Because the nail grows slowly, progress may not be immediately visible. However, each application contributes to gradually reducing the fungal presence and improving the condition of the nail bed. Over time, as the new nail grows and healthier, the damaged portion is pushed out and replaced. By focusing on preparation, penetration, and proper application, this method transforms the way toenail fungus is approached. Instead of repeatedly applying treatments with limited reach, it creates a structured process that increases effectiveness at every step. This not only improves the chances of clearing the infection, but also helps prevent it from returning, making the effort more sustainable and worthwhile over the long term. One of the most important yet often ignored aspects of dealing with toenail fungus is breaking the cycle of reinfection. Many people focus entirely on treating the nail itself, putting in effort every night, only to unknowingly recreate the same conditions that allowed the fungus to grow in the first place. This is why the problem keeps returning, even after it seems like progress has been made. To truly resolve it, attention must shift beyond just the nail and toward the environment surrounding it. Fungal organisms are highly adaptive and survive best in conditions that provide warmth, moisture, and limited airflow. Unfortunately, this is exactly the environment created inside most shoes. When your feet sweat throughout the day and remain enclosed, moisture builds up and gets trapped. This creates a breeding ground for fungus, allowing it to live not just on your skin and nails, but also inside your footwear. Every time you put those shoes back on, you are potentially exposing your feet to the same fungal organisms again, restarting the cycle. This is why shoe hygiene plays such a critical role in recovery. Simply treating the nail without addressing your shoes is like cleaning a wound while repeatedly exposing it to contamination. Rotating your shoes daily is one of the simplest yet most effective strategies. By giving each pair at least a full day to air out and dry completely, you reduce the moisture levels that fungus depends on. Dry environments are naturally hostile to fungal growth, making it harder for the organisms to survive and spread. In addition to rotation, keeping the inside of our shoes dry is essential. Moisture-absorbing powders or antifungal powders can help maintain a drier environment throughout the day. These powders not only reduce dampness, but also create conditions that are less favorable for fungal survival. Over time, this reduces the overall fungal load in your footwear, lowering the risk of reinfection. Socks also play a significant role in this process. Wearing clean, breathable socks made from materials that wick away moisture can help keep your feet dry for longer periods. Changing socks during the day, especially if your feet tend to sweat, can make a noticeable difference. Tight or non-breathable socks trap heat and moisture, which encourages fungal growth, so choosing the right type of fabric becomes an important part of prevention. Another key factor is allowing your feet to breathe whenever possible. After completing your nightly routine, leaving the affected area exposed to air can significantly improve results. Fungus struggles to survive in dry, well-ventilated conditions, so reducing confinement gives your body a better chance to recover. Even small habits like avoiding tight footwear at home or spending time barefoot in a clean environment can contribute to a less favorable setting for fungal growth. Beyond external factors, understanding how fungus survives helps explain why these steps are so effective. Fungal organisms rely on keratin as a food source, which is abundant in nails. They also depend on consistent moisture and warmth to maintain their growth cycle. By removing moisture, increasing airflow, and introducing treatments that disrupt their environment, you gradually weaken their ability to survive. When these conditions are consistently unfavorable, the fungus loses its ability to spread and sustain itself. The surrounding skin is another area that requires attention. Even if the nail begins to imp, rogue fungal spores can remain in the skin around it, particularly near the cuticle and between the toes. These hidden reservoirs can easily reinfect the nail if left untreated. Ensuring that treatment is applied not only to the nail, but also to the surrounding areas helps eliminate these lingering sources and reduces the chances of recurrence. Consistency across all these areas is what ultimately determines long-term success. It's not just about what you do once, but what you do repeatedly over time. Each small step, keeping your feet dry, rotating shoes, maintaining hygiene, and allowing airflow works together to create an environment where fungus cannot easily survive. When combined with proper nail treatment, these actions reinforce each other, making the overall approach far more effective. Patience is also an essential part of this process. Because toenails grow slowly, visible improvement takes time. The damaged portion of the nail needs to grow out and be replaced by healthy nail from the base. During this period, maintaining a clean and controlled environment prevents the fungus from regaining strength. As the new nail grows in, it reflects the healthier conditions you've created, gradually replacing the infected portion. What makes this approach powerful is that it addresses both the cause and the conditions that allow the problem to persist. Instead of focusing only on eliminating the fungus temporarily, it works toward preventing its return by removing the factors it depends on. Over time, this breaks the cycle that keeps the infection coming back, allowing your body to fully recover and maintain healthier nails moving forward. The key takeaway from this approach is that treating toenail fungus effectively is not about quick fixes or surface-level solutions. It requires understanding the underlying causes and addressing them methodically. Fungus thrives, in environments that are warm, moist, and low in oxygen, and it hides beneath thick layers of keratin where most treatments cannot reach. Simply applying creams or home remedies without targeting these factors is why the infection often returns. By focusing on nail preparation, proper treatment penetration, and environmental control, you create conditions that make it difficult for fungus to survive and easier for your body to grow healthy nails. Consistency is the single most important factor in achieving lasting results. Following a nightly routine that softens the nail, thins the protective layers, and applies targeted treatments ensures that the remedy reaches the source of the problem. Incorporating oxygen-releasing and pH-adjusting solutions attacks the fungus from multiple angles, disrupting its ability to thrive. At the same time, paying attention to your footwear, socks, and airflow prevents reinfection, breaking the cycle that perpetuates the problem. Patience is equally essential because toenails grow slowly and the visible results will take time to appear. However, each step you take contributes cumulatively to healthier nails, reduced fungal presence, and a stronger barrier against future infection. Over time, the combination of proper nail care, treatment, and environmental adjustments creates a sustainable solution rather than a temporary fix. By approaching the problem strategically, addressing both the nail itself and the surrounding conditions, you can finally regain control and prevent the fungus from returning. The effort may be simple, but it is highly effective when done correctly. Start today, follow the routine diligently, and give your body the advantage it needs to grow healthier, stronger nails that last.